for all of our at Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School and Germantown High School as well.
Excellent.
But like we said, we're getting ready to get into the government career cluster, and you've done so much, we watched a couple of videos on you, looked at your website and looked at some things you've done, but it's just I think I probably missed a lot of it. So I know you're from Meridian and went to the military and at Mississippi College School of Law and Hinds County Administrator, and now in private consulting. So just tell us a little bit about how you got into all that and just what all you've done.
Excellent. So thank you. Good morning to the class. I am excited and honored to have this opportunity to speak to you this morning. My career path has been all about service, to be very honest with you. I believe that that each of us is gifted and that we have an opportunity to tap into that gift and not just use it for ourselves, but use it for those around us.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry about that. I had somebody knocking on my door. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not a problem. 32 years in the United States Army in various forms. I started out after graduating from Alcorn State University. I'm an HBCU alum and went into the military. I actually had gone to Alcorn on a merit-based academic scholarship that I maintained all 4 years. So keep those grades up, get that ACT score up, and go to a college of your choice. I'm a proponent for HBCUs. And get your education. So I did that, and it was that scholarship was my pathway to education because honestly, I'm the baby of 7 of a woman who was a maid and a man who was a truck driver. And my mother told me very clearly that she could not afford to have 2 children in college at one time. And my sister was already in college attending actually University of Southern Mississippi. And so I said, okay, well, I'm going to college. I have good grades. And so, my grades gave me that option. And while in college, I wanted to buy a car. And knowing that my family couldn't afford to buy that for me, I decided I'd join the military. That's a crazy reason to join the military, but it's what I did. And but I figured I could have a little monthly income through drill that I could pay, a cheap car note with. Well, as it turned out, I discovered very quickly that I did not like being Private Riley. And so when I went to basic training on split option program. And so when I came back to college in the fall, I immediately went to the ROTC building. And again, I had an academic scholarship that I was maintaining, joined ROTC, did well there, became the second in command at the ROTC battalion. And that ultimately resulted in me being selected for active duty service as a military intelligence officer. And so, like I said, I served in the military for a total of 32 years in all 3 components: active component, National Guard, and reserve, and retired at the rank of full bird colonel. And I give God all glory for that. But because I grew up with my parents really saying, this, whatever you do is not about you. I wanted to continue to serve. And so as I had these dual careers, I dedicated the law practice that I had somewhere in there, gone to law school, and decided to be an advocate for those who, I'm not saying less fortunate me, but those whose path was like mine, right? The other little girl growing up next to the railroad track, to make an opportunity for them, which ultimately led to me running for Attorney General. I say I did not win, but I definitely did not lose either. And when that race was over, I just returned to continuing to serve, worked for the county. I will tell you, I'm a person of integrity, and there were some things going on in county government that, I'll be very honest with you, did not align with who I am as a person. And so I chose to resign instead of to be a part of what I see a perpetuation of a problem. And So I teach at Alcorn State University now as an adjunct professor, teaching government, criminal law, those type courses, public policy, and the pre-law seminar. And and so my consultancy is helping good folk do good. So I work with other nonprofits and quasi-governmental organizations, like some commissions that are set up in statute regarding legal compliance, board training, and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you talked a little bit about how you got into the military and the ROTC through the colleges. I know Alcorn, USM, Jackson State all have great ROTC programs that can lead to military service. Now, I think we have all ninth graders here, and all ninth graders are going to be watching. And I think some of them may have some questions about, when you join the military, it's not just let's blow stuff up and kick down doors. There's a lot of opportunities, not only for income, like you said, but work experience, and to move into a pretty good pay grade if you get into the officer program. And then also, if somebody wanted to get out of Mississippi, there are opportunities to live in other parts of the country. So how all does, and I'm not even sure I know myself, how does all of that work?
So I will tell you, the military is a microcosm. It is a mini everything else, right? So if you're interested in cybersecurity, if you're interested in IT, if you're interested in the medical profession, if you're interested in being a lawyer, whatever you're interested in, even if it's a truck driver, it's all in the military, right? So for every job in the civilian career, there is a matching military job, because everything, from working in a restaurant, so the people that run the dining facility are soldiers. The people who run the hospital are soldiers. So if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, whatever it is, it's in the military. So, again, I said earlier, I think we're all gifted. And so the military, what it does is it provides you an opportunity to get that training where you're not having to pay for college, right? And they even give you a little money to go to college. But they began to train you. One thing, none of my sons went in the military. I'll be honest with you about that. But I have said to them, and I've said to some of their friends who did choose to go in the military is a great way to leave home, because they give you a place to sleep, a nice little room, because the barracks are nice. They believe in a standard of living. They give you clothes, and they give you a little jewelry, because they give you dog tags. So what job gives you jewelry, right? And you eat in a dining facility. And even with all of that, you get a paycheck. So it's a great opportunity to exit stage left, to get out of mom's house if that's what you're ready to do. And while you're in the military gives you tuition assistance, right? To attend college. If you choose to go into the Mississippi National Guard, there are programs for tuition assistance through the National Guard, through the Reserve. And if you're on active duty, there are education spaces on most of the posts where you are. And if they're not educational services actually being offered on installation, they normally have a relationship with the local college in the area.
Yeah, we have a couple of Velma Jackson alums that are doing that tuition assistance program through Mississippi State right now.
Excellent.
Yeah. And also, and you talked a little bit about you joined the military to buy a car. That's kind of cool.
Crazy, I know.
It's not something you have to do for a long time. It's something that you can just do for a short time. But you have those. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. It's morning announcements.
All right, sorry about that. But it's something that you could just do for a few years, and you would still have those military benefits and that pension,
Yes.
along with having the training and not having the debt of going to of taking out massive student loans.
Right, that's correct. I will tell you, I have a master's degree. If you guys have seen my bio, you know I have a master's degree that I got when I was on active duty as a battalion intelligence and security officer. It's called S2. And my master's degree only cost me 25%. 25% of my master's degree came out of my pocket. The other 75% was paid for through educational services offered by the military. And no, you don't have to go in the military and stay 32 years. I absolutely love the military, if you guys can't tell that. And so I did. I stayed for 32 years and would put my uniform back on today if I had the opportunity. But you can go in the military for 4 years, 8 years, whatever your initial obligation is. And I will tell you, you take full advantage of everything that is offered through the military. Let me segue here a minute, because I know we were supposed to talk a little bit about government this morning. I'm going to say, and I know that this is a school, but I'm going to say that Mississippi is failing us right now when it comes to healthcare. The Mississippi has the highest maternal mortality. Yeah. Highest rate of maternal mortality. That means, and listen to me, young people, because you're in the 9th grade and you got hormones raging. Okay. Highest rate of maternal mortality means that young women die within 24 hours of giving birth to children. Mississippi is not taking care of folk. We're not expanding Medicaid at this moment. And we hope to continue to advocate for that. Military health insurance costs a lot of money. Okay, so when you go and work, when Mr. Pike gets his check every month, there's money that is probably taken out of his check that covers the cost of insurance. Sometimes that can be as high as $300, you know, or more, depending on if you're carrying your family. So the military provides health insurance, health benefits directly to you. You don't have to pay for them. I'm just being real honest with you about that. So first time I paid for health insurance in my life was when I worked for the county. And because the nonprofit organizations that I worked for were very successful nonprofit organizations, and they provided healthcare for me. Wow. At no cost. And so you know, understanding the reality of that. And so I thank goodness for that opportunity to work for the government, because then I got to have that experience that really informed. That's a lot of money coming out of people's check. My son is an educator like Mr. Pygott, and I know that he carries the insurance for his family, and that's a big chunk of his paycheck that comes out of his, you know, check every month. So, you know, it's a great opportunity, but it's not for everyone. Let me say that. Just like going to college is not for everyone. Find and begin to really pray, think about whatever, you know, however you process information. What is it you want to do? What do you feel like you've been gifted to do? Begin to develop that skill set and go for it. And it'll make room for you. Yeah, your gift will.
Yeah, and that's the thing about working, whether it's local government, state government, or federal government. Some of the jobs aren't the highest paying in the world, but the benefits of having that reduced health insurance and being able to retire at an earlier age than other industries is a huge benefit. So that is something to obviously think about, especially if you're planning on having a family. All that is extremely important. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I did also want to talk about was your college route. You know, and I'm a huge proponent of the HBCU programs as well, especially, you know, we have several students at Jackson State. We have several at Alcorn, but we also have some going to the PWIs. Now, you went to the HBCU undergrad, but then went to PWI grad school and law school. Now, why do you think it was important to have that combination? Because obviously they both offered certain things that the other ones can't.
Yeah, perspective, right? And so if your perspective is only ever from one view, then you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your exposure. So let's talk about HBCUs a minute. So there are some things, because you guys attend public school, there are some things because of history, because of statute, because of obligations that are not being taught in Mississippi's public schools. Many, and there's even a push afoot right now to ban what is being referred to as critical race theory instruction. Okay, that's the instruction that teaches the truth about what has happened in our state and in this nation when it comes to how people of color have been treated. Okay. To erase history is to deny history. And so I think we need to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly as part of, making sure that we smell the magnolias, right? So when you go to an HBCU, you get that culture, right? You get that sense of community that you are missing out on in public school. I'm a proponent of public school. My children went to public school. I'm a graduate of public school, but when you go to an HBCU, it's different, and it's more than homecoming and football games and pep rallies. It is an instructor like I had, Dr. Cotton, Dr. Bernard Cotton, who is lives in Vicksburg, and I was avoiding Dr. Cotton in college, y'all. I'll be real honest with you. And he yelled at me from across the campus one day. I heard his voice. I heard Miss Riley. And I stopped and I looked, and there was the department chair yelling my name. And so, because at that time, young folk paid attention to what our elders said. And so I was being summoned. I, quickly double timed across campus to, across the yard to, yes, sir, Dr. Cotton, what can I do for you? And he goes, Ms. Riley, you are in my department. You do realize that you cannot graduate Alcorn State University without taking courses from me. Yes, sir, Dr. Cotton. Well, I'm going to tell you, my sister, who was in college right ahead of me at the University of Mississippi, almost failed out of college because nobody was caring whether or not she graduated. HBCU provided that. And so they also provided that for me. They provided also that discipline that was necessary and that understanding of how to study, how to process, how to critically think about information that was necessary when I then pursued my master's degree and my doctorate. And so there are benefits. And then when you are in an HBC, by and large, you're in a majority African-American space. But guess what? The world is not majority African-American, and you still got to come out and figure out how do you live, how do you thrive in a community where you're the minority. So now you got to come out and learn to sit in class next to someone who does not look like you, who didn't come from the railroad track, and hear from them, not come at them with anger, but to hear from them, what are the concerns, and realize that you guys probably have some common denominators that really join you. But Alcorn did lay that foundation for me.
Yeah, and that's great you said that, because you said the exact same things that I said. Nobody in this room chose who their parents were. Nobody chose what color they were. Nobody chose their situation. But at the end of the day, in Mississippi or wherever you live, you're going to have to work with people. Unless you're the boss, you don't get to choose your coworkers. So you have to learn to work with everybody, no matter how they look or what they believe in or how they live. And that's a great point. And I'm glad you talked about that. And then one other thing before I get to some of their questions is you talked, as you said, that working in the government is about serving. It's not something that you can get rich in. But the rewards of it and being able to serve people, whether it be on the local level, state level, federal level, is extremely rewarding. And that really is the goal of government employees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So government is supposed to be for the people, right? By the people, for the people. And I think a lot of times, Mr. Pygott, our elected officials forget that. And so young people, as you are drawing nigh to, you're not yet at the age of being able to vote, but you are at the age of being able to pay attention to what's going on around you, understanding how it is impacting you. I encourage you now to get engaged and to be civically engaged. That means to encourage your family members who are of voting age to vote. to pay attention to candidates who are being selected to office and ask them, what are those issues? And you can ask them, even though you're not a voter, but you have parents that are of voting age. Ask them, hey, what's your position on, I'm in my client's office. They work on women's economic security. What's your position on passage of an equal pay law in the state of Mississippi? What is your position on women's access to health care, to reproductive health care? What is your position on fully funding education? Because I'm a student, I'm sitting in school, and my school doesn't have what this other school district may have, and it's because of the property taxes, the way education is funded in the state of Mississippi. Ask those questions, and it's okay to ask those questions. It's always okay to have your voice heard, and to remind those who are being elected that they are going to be held accountable.
Yeah, and Justice Jim Kitchens actually spoke to our seniors several years ago, and he said, well, he even said, I don't care if you vote against me, you need to go vote. But he said, for especially our young Black kids that are watching, he said, a lot of people died for you to have the right to vote. He said, Medgar Evers was murdered for you to have the right to vote. So he
in
said,
the driveway in front of his family.
Exactly. And he said, I don't care if you vote against me or you vote for me. You need to take your butt down there and vote, because it has not always been that way and not always been that easy. And again, I tell these kids all the time, I don't care who in the world you vote for, but you need to go down there and exercise your right, because one, not every country has that right. In other countries, they have one person on the ballot, and if you don't vote for them, they kill you. And then, back before I was born and when their grandparents were alive, they had to go through loops and red tape out of the wazoo just to be able to go down there and vote. So it's very important for them to understand that even if they don't work in government, they can still have some say in government and deciding who represents them at the local, state, and federal level.
Right. And if you have no connection to Medgar Evers, Martin Luther King, Emmett Till, if those stories don't resonate with you, go and talk to Medea. Okay. Go talk to the lady that's in the neighborhood that's old, that is older than I am. I'm 56, okay? So I grew up in the shadows of the civil rights movement. Well, I'll be 56 in November. But I grew up in the shadows of the civil rights movement. A lot of the stuff that was happening, my parents protected me from, but I will tell you, Alcorn taught me that history. But I didn't realize until I was grown that I was in the first class of integration in Meridian. Wow. My sister was a year ahead of me. So she was in the class when the courts said in December, when those kids go back to school in January, the school needs to be integrated, right? I was in the first full year. And so I don't want you all to think that this is too far removed from your life. And so you said, lady, I don't know nothing about 56-year-olds, okay? Ask Medea what was happening and what did she have to endure? And then ask yourself, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to be able to drive soon. So let me connect voting to you, because you may not understand the education formula funding that I just talked about. That may not resonate with you, but you want to drive soon. And when you get behind the wheel of a car, you want to feel safe. The elections, the vote, you vote for the sheriff. You vote for the district attorney. The district attorney and the sheriff are the two most powerful political positions in the state of Mississippi, actually in the country. The sheriff sets the tone for law enforcement in the county where you live. The mayor that you elect appoints the police chief where you live. And so the tenor, the way police deal with you comes from that police chief and that mayor. If they're going to be hard on crime, or are they going to say, you know what, he's a high school student, he's pretty good, he's on the football team, he's, whatever, she sings in the choir, whatever your thing is, I'm going to take her home instead of taking her and putting her in custody. Oh, where the district attorney then charges you with the maximum. So you want to eventually get to the point where you're advocating for your parents and then yourself to elect a district attorney that is smart on crime, not hard on crime. And so, you know, remember that these people are there to serve you, not to be served by you.
Absolutely. But I do want to get to some of these questions, and these are great coming from ninth graders. This is Jamarquez Davis, and he's asking, how many total years did you go to college?
So, Mr. Davis, total, I went to Alcorn State University for 4 years. I got my master's degree, which was a 2-year program. I actually got mine in 1 year. I'm crazy. I know, I did, but I you know, it was a 2-year program, but I got it in 1 year. So that's 5 years, and then 3 years of law school, but I actually went to law school in 2.5 years. So whatever that math comes up to, 6.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is Xavier Jackson, and he asked, how long did you have to train to become an intelligence officer in the Army?
So intelligence training, so your first basic officer course is 6 months. It was when I went anyway. The military intelligence post is at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, which is near the border of Arizona, United States, and Mexico. So I got a chance to go to Mexico a couple of times on a weekend. So that was 6 months. And then in the military, once you are approaching the rank of captain or become a captain, then you go to your advanced course, and that for intelligence officers is another 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another military question here. This is Madison Collins, and she asked, what are some of the best positions for women in the military?
Oh, Madison, so thank you. That's an excellent question. So I will tell you, the military has really in the last few years become a more inclusive organization, in that there is nothing that you can't do in the military now. Women can join special forces in the military if that's what you want to do. I enjoyed being an intelligence officer. I will tell you, even today, we have yet to have our first African-American general officer in the intelligence corps. And so I encourage people to become an intelligence officer. Had I not diverted myself a couple of times, that may have been me, right? But whatever you want to do, if you enjoy it, it's the best job for you, right?
Yeah. This is Travarius Carson, and he asked, and this is a great question for anybody. He said, obviously you're very busy. So how do you make time for your friends and family while you, with your crazy schedule?
So I prioritize me. So think about a triangle, guys. Think about a triangle. So triangle, whatever side you put it on, it's going to stand up, right? If all things equal. So I believe that we are a triune being. So physical, emotional, spiritual, okay? All three of those sides have to be taken care of and be in balance. And so I make sure I take time to at least go for a walk 3 times a week. I make sure that it's important for me mentally to take care of, be in contact with my family, mentally and emotionally be in contact with my family. And that spiritual side, I ground myself in the word every day. And so making sure that I maintain that balance allows me to get all the rest of the stuff done. I enjoy working because my work is supporting good folk doing good. And so it's not a chore for me. Sometimes I work long hours, but I enjoy what I do. And yesterday, in fact, when I got up from my desk, and because I work from home, I realized I had work from 9 to 9, but I had to do my work for my college students. Then I had to do some work in preparation for some training I'm getting ready to do with my client.
Okay. This is Keisha Daltrey, and she asked, what steps do you take when you have to make important decisions?
Number one, I pray and ask for guidance. Hearing none, I try not to move. When I do hear, then I try to follow. When I don't know, I do my research, right? So, you know, in all things, know what you're getting yourself into before you make a decision. Make those assessments and then make a decision. In the military, we have a 7-step military decision-making process. Okay. First thing in that is gathering data. And so you gather your data, you get clear guidance, and you kind of war game, you know, if and then. If and then is something I taught my kids too. And let me just share my sons. And so my youngest and my middle son have told me that has been the greatest blessing, because it keeps them from taking unnecessary risk, right? So when you are making decisions, think, if I do this, then that could happen.
Absolutely.
And bring that thing all the way out to the worst thing, but don't keep it out there. Bring it all the way back to the other end. What's the best thing that could happen? And then figure out where that pendulum swings, where it stops in the middle. And that's probably the decision that you need to make.
That's awesome. This is Kwame Johnson, and he asked, what was the hardest part of being in the military?
Oh, Kwame, so I'm not a athlete. I'm not an athlete. When I was in school, I didn't play sports. When I was in, middle school, high school, I didn't play sports. I read. And so when I joined the military, it was the first time I had to be athletic, like to run 2 miles. So for me, that's what the hard part was. And if I were to go in the military today, I would probably tell you that's going to be the hardest thing for me. It's a good thing though, because it helps keep you happy, healthy body, happy mind. But that was the hard thing for me, not the rest of it.
But that's also important to know. Just because you're not a great athlete doesn't mean you can't be very effective in the military.
Oh.
I think that's something that we see in movies. That's an unfair stereotype.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let
me just say this real quick because I want to get to the next. When I was in basic training, we went on a road march, and we went a long way, but something snapped in me in that road march because we had marched a long time and we had these rucksacks on our back. But what I realized is I could go the distance, right? I just realized in the middle of that, I could go the distance. And that changed my perspective on everything. It changed my perspective on how I worked out. Just go the distance. Know in yourself that you can go the distance.
This is Anaya Truss, and she asked, was Alcorn your dream college? And if you had not gone to Alcorn, where would you have gone to school?
So let me tell you how I ended up at Alcorn real fast. Alcorn was, I had never heard of Alcorn, honestly, to be very honest with you. When I went to Alcorn, I was supposed to go to Jackson State. Jackson State had offered me a scholarship. Back in the day, Jackson State did not have an honors dorm, nor did Alcorn. But if you were a scholarship student and you were going to Alexander Hall, you were supposed to be put on the honors floor. Jackson State did not honor what they had told me. And so after my uncle had lugged that heavy trunk, because the elevator wasn't working, up all those stairs, I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to attend Jackson State because I was put in a room with 2 other girls. One of the young ladies had already been there because she was in the band. She had taken up half of the room. So the other half of the room was left to me and another girl who came in when I was standing there trying to talk to the matron about I'm supposed to be on another floor. And she was loud as all get out. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to be successful in this space. And so I went back home, to be very honest with you, and went back to my high school counselor and said, I need to get in another college. And she called Alcorn State University and said, hey, I got a good student and she wants to, and they said, send her on down. And they had me take the ACT again, to be very honest with you, because my ACT score was not as strong as it should have been. I took the ACT again at Alcorn and ended up with a full academic scholarship with a stipend.
Awesome.
So steps ordered.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about the ACT. I don't know if you know this. Madison County Schools, every single junior and senior got a free ACT during a school. Oh, there's more. free SAT during the school day. Everybody here right now got a free practice ACT. Yeah, for 9th and 10th grade during a school day. And they got all types of ACT tutoring at school for free.
Take full advantage of that, young people. Take advantage, take advantage, take advantage.
Hold on, we never got
Listen to those nuances that they're teaching you about how to take that test. Take those practice tests, time yourself, because I'm telling you, that is just, it's like, that's open doors to colleges, right? You got a good ACT score, you get a scholarship.
Yeah, and then and also even at the community colleges, if they wanted to learn a trade, they could do that for free, because Holmes Community College with a 20 on the ACT will give you free tuition. And that's for academic or career programs, so they could learn to be an electrician and not pay a dime to do it and start working in a year.
Yes, excellent pathway. Because I will tell you now, and I'm gonna say everybody's not gonna go in the military, everybody's not gonna go to a 4-year college. I will tell you, I pay young people lots of money to take care of, like someone called the other day, one of my tenants, and said, hey, young man, I call young people to do work, young people who work for themselves. You know why? Because they went the community college path. They got their trade, their certification, and they opened their own businesses. Now, some of those young people I've had come sit at my table so I could teach them how to keep their books, okay? But even community colleges have little mini courses that teach you QuickBooks and that type of thing, so that you know how to take care of how to run your business. But I will tell you, it's young people I call to do things for me. I call young people when I need an electrician. I call young people when I need a plumber, okay? And it's not because I'm trying to get over, it's because I'm trying to support.
Yeah. And Ms. Riley, we're almost out of time, but I ask every speaker the same question. Like everybody else in this room, you grew up Black in Mississippi and in the country. But yet you've become extremely successful. So even if they never want to be an attorney, they never want to be in the military, what can they do to help follow in the footsteps of great professional leaders like you?
Believe in yourself. Believe that you are wonderfully made, that you are gifted, but believe. Simple as that.
That's awesome. And that was some great stuff today. And you know, I'm sure you hear all the time, but you know, for 32 years of service to our country, there's nothing we can do to thank you enough for that, being a veteran. And that's just a great example for all these young people here, especially these young ladies. And I know you're doing some great things in the community, so just keep doing that. And when we finally get our COVID policies, we love to have you on campus. And also I'd love to have you in the spring to talk about your business, my entrepreneurship bunch. So
of course.
Great stuff. And we thank you so much for making some time for us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you. And if you all see me in the community, feel free to stop me and say, hey, I was you were in my class. Okay.
All right, we'll do it. Thank you so much. You have a great rest of the day.
You too. Bye-bye.
See ya.